In northern Arizona, where economic growth continues to reshape communities from Sedona to Flagstaff, the conversation around housing has become increasingly urgent. At the center of one proposed solution is Blaine Tanner, an Arizona entrepreneur and developer, whose career has evolved from manufacturing and finance into large-scale regional development focused on long-term community impact. Tanner's latest undertaking, a proposed workforce housing project near Sedona, reflects both the changing needs of the region and the next phase of his professional legacy. Planned across 47 acres at the first Interstate 17 exit south of Sedona, the development is designed to provide more than 300 residential units intended to serve essential workers and employees throughout the Verde Valley and northern Arizona corridor. The project is expected to enter the approval process within the next 6 months and has already generated interest among business leaders and regional stakeholders. For Tanner, the initiative represents more than another business venture. It reflects decades of entrepreneurial experience being applied to a challenge that many Arizona communities now consider central to their long-term sustainability. Before becoming involved in Arizona workforce housing, Blaine Tanner spent years building businesses across manufacturing, sustainable materials, and structured finance. His professional trajectory began in Canada, where he entered the plastics manufacturing industry shortly after completing his education. Starting in an entry-level role, he steadily advanced into executive leadership while helping facilitate the sale of a company to Menasha Corporation, a major U.S.-based packaging manufacturer. That early experience shaped Tanner's reputation as a disciplined operator with a long-term approach to growth. Rather than remaining within a corporate structure, he launched his own plastics manufacturing business and spent the next decade scaling the company from roughly $500,000 in annual revenue to approximately $25 million. Colleagues and business associates have often described Tanner as a strategic thinker who combines operational discipline with calculated risk-taking. Those characteristics became increasingly evident as his career expanded beyond manufacturing into sustainable materials ventures and structured finance projects. After exiting the plastics industry, Tanner structured partnerships focused on environmentally conscious material innovation before later founding and managing an investment fund specializing in long-term lease assets and Wall Street packaging strategies. His work in finance further reinforced a reputation for patient execution, strategic planning, and identifying opportunities that required both technical understanding and long-range vision. That ability to adapt across industries now appears to be informing his approach to regional development in northern Arizona. Tanner's transition into community-focused development did not emerge from traditional real estate speculation. Instead, it developed from growing concerns about the widening disconnect between regional economic growth and attainable housing availability across Sedona and the Verde Valley. Like many tourism-driven communities throughout the Southwest, Sedona has experienced rising housing costs that increasingly place pressure on the local workforce. Hospitality employees, teachers, healthcare workers, tradespeople, retail staff, and emergency personnel often struggle to find housing within a practical distance of where they work. As costs rise, workers are pushed farther from employment centers, leading to longer commutes, staffing shortages, and increasing strain on local businesses. Tanner has described workforce housing not simply as a real estate issue but as a broader community sustainability issue. That perspective has become a central theme behind the proposed workforce housing project near Sedona. The development is intended to support residents across Sedona, Flagstaff, and the Verde Valley region by creating attainable housing opportunities closer to employment hubs. Planned residences include studio, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and 3-bedroom units designed to accommodate a range of household sizes and income levels. Rather than positioning the project as purely utilitarian housing, Tanner and his team are emphasizing a more integrated and community-oriented model. One of the defining aspects of the proposed Verde Valley housing development is its emphasis on quality of life and long-term livability. Tanner's vision for the project centers on creating an upscale but attainable residential environment that integrates naturally into the surrounding northern Arizona landscape. Plans for the community include walkability, green space, recreational areas, gathering spaces, and infrastructure designed to support both accessibility and daily convenience. The development's location near Interstate 17 was selected in part because of its strategic accessibility to multiple employment centers throughout the region. For Tanner, location is not simply a logistical consideration. It is a core component of sustainable planning. In many parts of northern Arizona, employees face increasingly long commutes between affordable housing and workplaces. Those commuting patterns affect traffic congestion, workforce retention, family stability, and overall economic efficiency. By positioning housing near a major transportation corridor, the project seeks to reduce those pressures while improving regional connectivity. The development also reflects Tanner's broader philosophy around responsible growth. He has consistently emphasized that growth throughout Arizona is inevitable, but believes it should be managed thoughtfully and collaboratively. That philosophy aligns with growing regional conversations about how communities can expand without sacrificing character, infrastructure stability, or quality of life. The broader workforce housing challenge facing northern Arizona has become increasingly difficult for local employers and municipal leaders to ignore. Businesses throughout Sedona and Flagstaff frequently cite housing shortages as one of the primary obstacles to recruiting and retaining employees. The issue extends well beyond hospitality. Healthcare systems, schools, public services, construction trades, and retail businesses all rely on workers who increasingly struggle to live near the communities they serve. Tanner's project attempts to address that imbalance directly. By creating attainable housing options within reach of major employment corridors, the development aims to support greater workforce stability while strengthening the surrounding regional economy. Local business leaders and public officials have reportedly expressed support for the initiative, recognizing workforce housing as an important component of long-term economic sustainability in the Verde Valley. At the same time, Tanner appears aware that responsible development requires careful engagement with community concerns. Throughout his professional career, he has often emphasized the importance of collaboration, patience, and listening to stakeholders before moving projects forward. That measured approach may prove particularly important in northern Arizona, where growth debates frequently involve balancing economic realities with environmental stewardship and regional identity. Throughout his career, Blaine Tanner has repeatedly operated in industries defined by transition and adaptation. From manufacturing expansion to sustainable materials and structured finance, his business history reflects an ability to identify changing market conditions and reposition strategically. The move into community-focused development appears to follow a similar pattern. Rather than pursuing short-term speculative projects, Tanner's approach to Arizona workforce housing centers on infrastructure, regional sustainability, and practical economic needs. The proposed community near Sedona is designed not only to provide housing inventory but also to support local employers, reduce workforce displacement, and strengthen long-term economic resilience. That perspective reflects a broader understanding of how housing affects regional ecosystems. Communities depend on teachers, healthcare professionals, service workers, tradespeople, and first responders to function effectively. When those workers are unable to live nearby, the effects extend far beyond housing itself. For Tanner, solving those challenges requires more than increasing unit counts. It requires creating developments where residents can establish roots, build stability, and participate more fully in local communities. The emphasis on accessibility, quality design, and integrated amenities suggests an effort to redefine how workforce housing projects are perceived. In many markets, workforce housing has historically been treated as temporary or secondary infrastructure. Tanner's vision instead frames it as a foundational component of healthy community development. As northern Arizona continues to grow, conversations around housing, infrastructure, and sustainability are likely to remain central to regional planning efforts. The proposed workforce housing project near Sedona represents one example of how private sector leadership may increasingly intersect with broader community priorities. For Blaine, Tanner has become more than a new geographic chapter. It represents an opportunity to apply decades of entrepreneurial experience toward a regional issue with lasting social and economic implications. His background in scaling businesses, structuring complex financial projects, and navigating changing industries appears to have shaped a development philosophy rooted in long-term thinking rather than short-term expansion. That combination of business discipline and community focus may ultimately define the next stage of Tanner's professional legacy. If approved, the project could help create attainable housing opportunities for hundreds of workers across Sedona, Flagstaff, and the Verde Valley while contributing to a broader conversation about responsible growth in northern Arizona. More importantly, it positions Blaine Tanner, Arizona developer and entrepreneur, as a business leader focused not only on building ventures, but on helping build stronger and more sustainable communities for the future.